let's address this first. You did fall over.
Yes, the chair. Bobby has a...
But first, you knew about it.
How can I remember...
You knew about it. You knew as soon as you fell, you were like, oh, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, that went through my mind as my ass was going over my head. But, yeah, this chair has a leg that's, I went on and finished off, but I'm just going to stay on this side.
I think it's a lot of tensing your body for the next 40 minutes.
What's that?
You're going to have to sit there for 40 minutes.
I can engage the core.
You fell over, you fell back in the chair. You did sit hard, to be honest. And it's a chair from like 1890. And I was like, you were here a week or so ago. I was like, hey, be careful on that chair because you might fall over. You dominated it today, though.
Yeah, I mean.
Athletic, too, I will say.
I wish we would have it would have been worth having. I'm good at falling, Bobby.
It was an athletic fall. And now this
microphone needs Viagra.
Reed, you want to blue pill this thing? Oh, there it goes.
I think no.
You look like a guy that's done that a few times. Do you have a nervous tick? Because I do with a microphone when I first get it at all times to like reset it.
Well,
or was that one just not set? Because I will grab a microphone.
Well, it's just sagging. You got to understand when you're I'm at a piano.
Yeah, you got to adjust.
You got to get it where you like it.
I agree.
It's just like
See, that chair's.
It's gonna do.
Are you okay?
I'm okay with the chair.
Okay.
And I'm okay. I just got done with 4 days of snow skiing. And yeah, so I have fallen and chased my children up and down the mountains and fallen and cracked vertebra and all that. So I'm good.
I'd like to ask you about snow skiing. I've never been.
You've never been?
No. And if I'm just guessing, I would imagine you didn't go till later.
I didn't snow ski until I was gifted for college graduation at 23. My dad, we took a big, me and a bunch of my fraternity brothers went on a trip, and that was the first time I learned, and it was Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and it's like a hard-ass mountain to learn on, but I didn't start till 23, but then since then I've gone every year.
Yeah, we didn't have snow. I mean, you're from Georgia, I'm from Arkansas. It's not like there's anywhere around us.
Well, water the money. I mean, when you start looking at Western snow skiing and the cost, I mean, it's a booger.
Again, which is why we probably didn't go when we were younger.
Oh, we wouldn't have even. My parents wouldn't have even they wouldn't have even known how to. I mean, we did good to get to Panama City to the beach, but if you do it, and I think you ought to.
I'm scared of ACL, MCLs. I'm scared of tearing.
Have you ever torn one?
Nope. But that's why I don't want to go snow skiing.
You're not going to tear one.
When you fall, as was evidenced with your fall here, it's different when you're an adult. Yeah, but
they'll set your skis and all your bind. They'll make it where when all your settings when the boots and the skis don't like the way they're turned, you'll pop out of them. The only way you would ever blow an ACL. Well, first of all, I was going to tell you, if you do, you ought to do it. First of all, secondly, day one, get an instructor for 3 days, and learn properly, learn the right way, and all your skis and bindings. If you make a hard fall, your skis pop off. What blows your legs out is when you stay hooked to your skis.
Which also is what, I didn't tear ACLs or MCLs, but we lived near water, so we would ski, and then we'd wakeboard, wake surf, and not getting out of a wakeboard, like when you wipe out.
I think that's way more dangerous, because you're not coming. I mean, like Jake Owen, Jake's torn, I mean, he's torn his knees a lot because he wakeboarded every day. So,
which is why eventually we just started wake surfing and wake skating.
Wake surfing.
You come off of that if you wipe out.
Yeah, and when you fall wake surfing, it's just like
you fell a minute ago. You're just like
just slow mo
again. And I'm not being funny about this. You fell very athletic. You did fall.
Well, like I said, I'm still. I mean, I'm still jacked up from being 10,000 feet in the mountains. I'm still.
But when you're 12, were you an athlete?
I was a pretty good athlete as a kid. I was a very proficient athlete. I mean, baseball and football all-stars every year until like 8th or 9th grade. I did not grow. Everybody else grew. So when everybody else hit puberty and all that, here I am. And I was the youngest kid in my whole grade. So my birthday was July 17th. And back then, the cutoff, the starts were like August, I think. So I should have been held back a year, but I wasn't. So here I am. I'm the youngest kid in my grade, and I'm the latest blooming boy in the grade. So when I made the 9th grade baseball team, I made the 10th grade baseball team. I didn't even go out for football because football was our football program was not that good, and I just didn't need to be on the field. But then going into 11th grade, I still was like, I went to my coach and said, man, you know, everybody else can hit homers and hit it off the wall. I said, man, I'm not going to be able to compete. And that's when I essentially started really getting into music, thank God, you know, and really the time that I dedicated to maybe baseball and football practices and all that, I would start. I had a little high school band, and we'd go, you know, play Leonard Skinner songs in a garage on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you know that's kind of what got me into music.
How big's your dad?
My dad's 6'1", yeah. So he's 6'1", 215 his whole life. You know, he was kind of a, you know, I didn't know he was a big dude, and then all my buddies would be like, "Man, your dad's kind of a big guy." So
you're a big guy. Like,
yeah.
People have to be surprised when they meet you how large you are.
Well, I think people are like, people are always. That's the first thing I say was like, "Man, we didn't realize you were." Well, you know, what's funny is like Blake's a big dude. Blake is bigger than me. He's probably an inch or two taller than me. But then, like, if I throw on a pair of cowboy boots, I'm 6'4" all day long. So that makes me even more like, people are like, whoa, but I mean, I'm 6'2", you know, and little heavier than I want to be, but working on that. But
I was with Tracy Lawrence yesterday, and it's just weird to say that from the kid version of me who
right.
who
and he's an Arkansas guy, yeah.
And he was in his Arkansas stuff, and who worshipped Tracy Lawrence because he was an Arkansas guy, and that was when I grew up. That's what I was listening to.
In your zone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like age-wise and region. So with Tracy Lawrence yesterday, and we were talking about country music, and to me, when I was a kid, country music talked about where I was from, and I felt that related there. But like alternative music talked about how I felt.
Right.
Because country music used to be a bit older. They would sing a lot of parent songs when we were younger. Like country music was definitely like adults singing to adults a lot.
No doubt.
And just kind of talked to him about how that's changed a lot. And the artists, I mean, including you, especially when you started, are younger. The country music messaging is more broad. It's gotten far more popular. Has your music changed in what you're looking to record when you're 25 versus now, just as you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally, I entered in, and when you look at my first two albums, it was very, very, fiddle heavy, steel guitar heavy, country songs and I had, you know, I think, I had a lot of those aspects of kind of some classic country stuff in those first two albums, and then kind of morphed into, as I was playing clubs, college bars, and watching. I mean, I was a direct reflection of watching college kids right when I got off stage, and I would play all of the big covers. I'd play. I'd play Fishing in the Dark and You Never Even Call Me By My Name and Skinner and all the Brooks and Dunn stuff and Tracy Lawrence, and we'd play we would learn like modern, like Gary Allen songs at the time, songs about rain, and we were playing these things. And then right when I got done, they put on the biggest hip hop songs, and that's when the energy level in that college bar went to 11. And so that's when I started going, Well, if I'm gonna really kind of dance in this space, you got to be able to relate to that demographic. And so, yeah, but what's interesting, Bobby, when you look at somebody like Morgan, and even like I don't know how old. When you look at like Connor Smith or some of these kids that, Morgan really got going when he was 24, 25. I really got going when I was 32.
Really?
30 to 32 is when like
you're already a full adult then.
Right. I didn't move to Nashville till I was 25. So I was tricking people a little bit in my, like when I look at Thomas Rhett, he was like 20.
He's a kid. Yeah.
He was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And he's calling me like, what did you do? And I was like, dude, I was going through what you're 21. I was 31. I had a baby at home and a wife. And so, it was a little bit different for me because I didn't get to town until I was 25. And, the reason why that happened is I had lost my brother in the car wreck. I was moving here when I was 19. And when he passed away in 96, that kind of delayed. I was already had an apartment here. And in 96, I'd have been 20. So then I just kind of shut her down for a minute. And then I went and did college and worked for my dad a couple years. So it kind of just threw me off, which I'm glad I came here with a mature mindset. I think if moving away from Leesburg, Georgia, straight to Tennessee, there's no telling how I would have reacted in that. So I think going to college and getting away from home and then coming here was perfect. But
can you imagine though those 19-year-old athletes that go to the NBA though? Because you're talking about you're glad at 19 because you don't think you had the
I think
Can you imagine that
deck. I think the odds in the deck are stacked against them. It's really I can't imagine
resources like crazy, like millions of dollars, and now you're 19 and you're living in L.A., New York, Boston, wherever.
Listen, it's a lot. You have to give grace. You have to give them some grace. Yeah. And the good, the positives and the negatives. They're still boys, really. They're no different, and when you think about, I think about, and so you were asking.
Well, mostly too is like the music. Even then, like I can look at some of the songs like "Mr. Mom" or like some of the Colin Ray stuff. It was very adults singing to adults,
right? And I sang along with those songs because I was such a radio geek. I was a top 40 country radio geek. I didn't know any Texas artist. I didn't know like your underground. Like your Robert Earl King, is it King?
Keen.
K-E-E-N. I didn't really know their music. I didn't know like the Lyle Lovett scene. I didn't know those kind of underground things.
The Texas Red Dirt stuff, it just barely got to Arkansas. So I can't imagine it was in Georgia.
Well, the only thing, like we had like, if we had any, and if we had any like underground Georgia stuff, it would have been like a Driving and Crying. Do you remember them?
I do.
And like REM was almost a little too alternative, really, for us to get into. We knew REM because they were a global band, and even in college, obviously Dave Matthews was kind of East Coast underground, and obviously Hootie and the Blowfish, but the bottom line is I think when I look back when I got here in 2001, like Mr. Mom and
Another Day in Paradise. That's an adult song.
Yeah.
It's a massive hit, but it's an adult country song, which there aren't a lot of those now.
Right.
But as the young guys,
but when I think about college and then I think about what when I think about what really shaped me, it was Tim McGraw, Green Grass Grows, and it was Kenny Chesney, back where I come from. And that's what we were jamming, and that's what I was covering in my cover band. I didn't really but I felt like, there was that 45-year-old woman demographic going on, and certainly that's flipped a little bit currently.
I feel like it's flipping back, though, because the young guys of you guys are now 10 years in, and you're starting to change it back to it being, it's allowed to be a little more mature now. Was my point, was that like you and Jason, and you can do Jake and Dirks, and you guys have been around for 15 years.
Right, yeah.
And the music, things you were singing about then was very young, and the young is still here, but also you guys are so established and still relevant that you can sing older songs now, which was what my question was leading to, was like, are you now at times picking songs that you wouldn't have cut 5 years ago because of what the song's about?
Well, for instance, 4x4 by You. I mean, there was one point in my career I had sung about trucks enough to where I passed stupidly on the Morgan Sand in My Boots because it had Chevrolet in it, and
you felt it was just too much truck because you've done so many?
Felt like that. I just went through 2 years of my life. I went through 2 years of my life where I was like, man, I have sing, I sing about trucks a lot. I sing about tailgates. And, I think I got in my head a little bit because I think if I had a lot of negativity socially on socials that I was getting pegged as maybe a one-trick pony in that lane.
You were also a victim of your own success, which is a great way to be a victim.
Which happens, yeah.
Absolutely.
Which I'll take that. I'll take that any damn day of the week. Well, now I think, and Bobby, what's interesting too, when I was doing spring break stuff, I was 34, 35, 36, 37, like making spring break albums, appealing to 20-year-olds.
Did that feel weird for you?
Well, it got a little weird. It didn't get weird. It just felt like, it's time to move on from maybe the spring break, me trying to sing college songs. But it was fun for me, and it was awesome. And it totally told the world that's my personality. I think no matter how people want to categorize me, I think people generally think my personality is let's have some fun. And if I'm known for that, if I don't get Male Vocalist of the Year and Grammys or whatever, because I may be known as the guy that has had fun through his career and put out a lot of fun songs, I'm cool with that. I think vocally, I may have been overlooked for that partiness. I think there's stuff out there that I've done vocally that certainly it's not Chris Stapleton vocals and Ronnie Dunn vocals and the guys that are really, really known as vocalists. But I think I might have gotten overlooked in that a little bit, which is fine. Like I said,
I agree. I think the character that people painted of you, because what's so dominating about your presence is, like, you walk in a room, you own it.
Inadvertently.
Oh, for sure. Like,
right.
I don't think it's your pressing to do it.
Yeah,
I would watch a room when I was on Idol those years. We'd go to dinner, everybody, and it's crazy who's going to win that room, because it ain't me. And Katie was big and loud and large.
Big now.
And if you came in,
and Katie were like,
it was your room. It was really cool to watch you come in, and you did not dominate the room on purpose, but you have such a magnetic personality, and it is quite large, where I could see that people would, and that's partly what allowed you to rise, but then it got so big, people wouldn't see the other things that you could do, which is why Idol was so great, because you would sit at a freaking piano, and people would have their mind blown to watch you go, and then just pour a straight vocal over keys, and they're like, we didn't know we could do that. Now, you've been doing it the whole time,
Yeah, I think people. Yeah, thank you for saying all that, and I think it's just listen. I mean, to get to a level of every artist that makes the leap from throwing out some radio hits, they've got to have something that's like takes them to that kind of like I didn't never know I'd be like what's termed as a superstar. I mean, every time somebody introduces me as country music superstar Luke Bryan, like it still freaks me out. Like I'm still like, how in the hell did I pull that title off? So when you look at somebody that goes from like climbing, digging, one hit, two hit, three hit, four hit, then next thing you know, they blow up to be a superstar. There's something about them that kind of made that happen. And with me, I think it was personality and my willingness on stage to just go for whatever to dance and cut up and be. And I think that was different enough to set me apart where I think when you got Jason Aldean that went into superstar mode, it was that rock, Southern rock. She's country.
It was electric guitar.
It was electric guitar. Walls, like layers of electric.
Yeah.
And then when you look at Chesney, it was like...
It was beach. To me, he's beach, like all beach all the time. Because the early Chesney, I wasn't into.
See, I was into everything he did from the first album, knew every song on his Capricorn album.
Yes, I only got into Chesney, I would say early mid. So you were in early.
I might have been fan number one.
There was we were talking about this, and that Aldean had posted this on a story, and I actually replied in his Instagram story, and he posted a meme from somebody that was like, who's the one artist, or what was the one artist that made you love country music? And so I was just being funny, and I replied to him, Lil Nas X. And he thought, and so I thought that was, so I took it on the show, and I was talking about like the song, and you only pick one song, one artist. The song that made me go, holy crap, was Tim McGraw, Don't Take the Girl, because that was like a story song.
Oh.
And I remember like, oh my God, did she live? Like I was a kid, and I was like, that song, it wrecked me. First song that really wrecked me. But the artist to me was Garth, because he was larger than life.
Right.
Everything about him. So same question to you. Well, give me this one song, one artist that made you fall in love with country. It's an impossible question. It is. It was hard for me, but I had to boil it down.
If I gotta say the most definite thing when I was in my formative light, I would say Clint Black, Killing Time.
God, it's such a jam. I could think of exactly where I was when that song would come on the radio.
And when I now listen, you've got to understand. I've got like there are 4 Conway Twitty songs. There's 7 Alabama songs. There's 8 Millsap songs. There's 8 Earl Thomas Conleys. There's 2 Mel McDaniels. I mean, when you think about Louisiana Saturday night and I'm 5 years old and my parents are drinking beer in the kitchen dancing to that, I mean,
that's John Anderson for me with my grandma.
Oh,
like swinging.
Oh, yeah.
Like that same kind of memory.
But when Killing Time came out and then you know just that album. When you're a kid and I went and bought that album and you did like I had a stereo, you know, a CD player and these huge speakers, and I just sit there and listen to it for every day. Every day I would dedicate that album and just sitting there and listening to it and thumbing through Bassmaster magazines or whatever. But that was a big one for me. But you know, I mean, I was so into that top 40 country. I mean, there's 10 George Straits that really, I mean, the George Strait song that really probably hit me the most was Run. When I heard Run for the first time, and the fact that George did that to me, I he already had me with 25 other songs. But the fact that, I would assume, what's George now? He's probably is George mid-60 now?
I would think
late.
He's 70, huh?
Well,
Mike?
72.
So think about this. I moved town in 2001, 2002, and he came out with Run in 2002 or 3. So that would have been, 15 years ago? So he was
2002? We're getting, dude, that's like 20 years.
So he would have been 52.
Yeah.
And drops Run. And then he drops Give It Away. And those are giant. Like, if I'm 48, and if I can figure out a song that at the end of the year, through all the new artists coming out, through all the me and Outies, and George dropped 2 at 52 years old that still slayed the country music market. I mean, when he put out Give It Away, he owned the radio with that song.
And he talked in that song.
Right.
So
that's my job to try to attempt to do at the age of 48. In my opinion, if I'm going to stay in the game.
Yeah, and I think the environment was a bit different then because older artists were able to exist. But I think the guys that are still cool now, that have been around 15 years ago, can actually shift that back to that, where you guys are able to put out music that's adult, that's not tailgates or whiskey, that adults who've grown up with you can still enjoy without feeling like they're living a lie by making out in the back
Well,
of
I
the
think
field.
with me, I mean, when you look at my first album, all country, second album, 80% country.
What else is it? What's the other 20%?
Well, whatever. I'm not even speaking correctly. Yeah, it was 100% country. And it's, in my opinion, it's always been 100% country. It's just people, people that judge stuff.
Sure.
Didn't necessarily appreciate Country Girl Shake It For Me or whatever. That's fine. But what they don't know about me is they don't know that name a song from 85, name a song that was on the radio from 1985 to present day, and I guarantee you I could play it and sing it.
Oh, yeah.
From Mr. Mom to Phil Vassar to Diamond Rio, all of them, because I listen. But my thing is, so when I go back, like my current song, country song came on, it's a throwback song for me. But some people may be like, well, that's Luke pandering to maybe what's pop. No, it's not pandering. Like, it's me being authentically, like, that song spoke to me. Like, I was like, hell yeah, I'm cutting that. That's me.
I also don't think you would have cut that 10 years ago.
Probably not.
Even though you would have loved it then as well. I think you were.
But I think as country music is broad, it gets sucked into everybody doing one thing, then it broadens back out. And I think we're in the broadest time period ever where you can be like Morgan and Little Dirk doing a thing, and then you can be Zach Top.
Well, and that's the beauty of having all the outlets for it to exist, from the streaming to, it's not just radio, which it used to be, but you got streaming, you got the digital social media, you got radio, you have all of that allows all of that to be successful in different ways.
I mean, listen, just the Dasha. I'm saying her name. I always go Dasha.
Right. That's right. You're right.
I always go, what? Anyway, I always try to mess up Dasha. But anyway, every time I clicked on TikTok and you heard, do your boots stop broken into something? I was like, that's how that song got fed to me. And that's great. The fact that artists can get broke like that, artists can get broke like
just streaming stories
streaming stories. Like I said, when I see Zach Top post him sitting on a damn log with a pair of jean shorts by the lake, and he plays the guitar and sings, I watch it. It's
and very bluegrassy as well.
Totally.
So I don't think, again, if we just do 10 years ago, I don't think he would have been allowed to have the airspace to see if people liked him 10 years ago, because everybody was like, we only have so much room. And this is not the current what fits. I don't think Zach Top would have happened like he's happened today.
Right. And I don't think you would have, you got a band like Parmalee out there that's delivering straight down the path, big old radio hits.
Yeah, big
and then you've got, I just think it's interesting. I think there's hits that are hits. And then I think there are hits that are massively impactful for your career. I mean, I think...
What's the most impactful song you put out? Impactful.
I think the most important song I ever obviously ever did was Country Girl Shake It For Me. I think when I look at the most, maybe, when I look at a drink of beer or Most People Are Good, those were my opportunities at songs that I thought would be up for Song of the Years, and I never got a Song of the Year, which that's when I was kind of like, man, I really thought those would at least get nominated for something, and they never did. And then I was like, well, at this point in my career, I just need to be free with what I do. And I mean, when I look at One Margarita and what that does for my career, man, it is fun in the room. It is fun in the summertime with 20,000 people. You don't get no more fun than performing One Margarita. And if I can periodically have a Knockin' Boots and One Margarita partnered up with my big up tempos from Kick the Dust Up and all that, I think it's about like in the next year or two, like I'd love to have a big old fun summer anthem pop up, because that's fun to have. Now, what, I got to go write it or I got to go find it, and I hope I can find it, and I hope that it can be kind of coined Song of the Summer and fun, and people can be like, oh, that's Luke with one of his party songs, but either way, I mean, it's so fun where I'm at in my career. I can just build my set list with my songs to create the vibe that I want to create, and just the fact that I can do that is a dream come true.
What song did you almost not cut? Could have been yours or someone else, and you almost didn't, and you were like, I don't know if we're going to put this on, but it ended up being a monster.
I never even thought about Rain Is a Good Thing as being a single. What was one that was like...
Do you know the answer to that, Carrie? What did he almost not cut? And maybe he had to be convinced, or he had to convince somebody.
I tell you what, Drunk on You, you got to understand that at the time, I'm on the bus with like my band. And I think at that time, Cole Swindell was living on my bus. My merch guy, a couple of other, like and Drunk on You, essentially, me watching the people in my inner circle react to that song, like,
convinced
me that it was something that was more special than I thought it was. And that was one that I almost could have let slip away. But I mean,
why'd you say, Carrie? Give me some of that.
Yeah, I had get me some of that, because Michael, my guitar player, wrote that. Another one was, hey girl, what's your name, girl?
Billy Currington's?
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I was close. But those happened.
You didn't cut that one, though.
Oh, right.
That's the difference.
You're right. I didn't cut it. I think the one that
was a jam, though. If you just sang that one, come on.
Oh, and then
Billy crushes it too, but it's different. It's different. It would have been two different songs.
Yeah. One that I wish I would have singled that I didn't was a song called Way, Way Back. Way, way back, running old dirt roads. I mean, I will still have artists kind of like in my, like artists in my friend group that they'll be on the bus listening to that. And I'm like, damn, I should. Bobby, one of the most, now think about this. This is one of the funniest. This is where like I knew things were stupidly successful for me, which it's so funny to think about. But on my last spring break album I put out, we had like I guess it would have been a CRS kind of get together. And I was doing an interview talking about my spring break album and all that. And a couple of the programmers go, off your spring break album, which song would you choose to be a single? And I said, man, right now I cannot stop thinking about a song called Games that I wrote, me and Ashley Gorley. We literally wrote it by ourselves, and I put it on the spring break album. Well, that I guess CRS is always this time of year in February. So we were ramping up our promotion for the spring break album in February. Well, the label had already picked Kick the Dust Up to come out as the lead single from my new album that we'd already had done. So Kick the Dust Up was supposed to come out in April. When we busted up for CRS, all of the programmers started blaring Games.
They started playing Games, which pressures your label to put like.
Well, so as long as I live, I will deem this as a mistake of mine. Games got to 16 on the charts, and back then, if this were current, we could have just put both of them out.
Yeah.
But back then, it was so taboo. You didn't even drum up trying to work two singles at one time.
Was the label promoting Games once people started to play it, or was it
the
all
label?
organic?
We were all jacked up.
Yeah.
But what we should have done is delayed Kick the Dust Up. But like we had this whole thing behind Kick the Dust Up too. Like it it just got, and Games would have went to number one. And I think Games would have probably been maybe one of my bigger singles ever. And we killed it on purpose.
You cannibalized yourself.
We totally did. And I look back and I'm like, me and Ashley Gorley, and Ashley's like, can you believe we actually killed a song to put out Kick the Dust Up?
5 years later, it'd have been fine. It's what's funny too, the timing, what year it was, maybe 10. But yeah, now you can do that no problem. You can have 3 on at the same time.
And so, and what was interesting is even not this past year, the year before, I played a full version of Games, like in my concert, and man, it went over great, I
wonder, I did a charity event with Darius once, and I asked him before the show, I said, hey, my favorite, because I was a massive Hootie fan, loved freaking
right.
Knew every song.
Me too.
A-sides, B-sides, C-sides, F-sides, it didn't matter. Like, I loved it all. I burnt a tape out, like, played it so much, the words came off of it, the correct review. Right. And so I said, hey, I used to listen to this going to football practice every day. There was a song called Running from the Devil. And I was like, and he's like, man, I haven't played that in 20 years. But he's like, if you give me like 15 minutes before I go on, we'll learn it. And so
cool.
It was the coolest thing. And again,
he did it.
He went on stage, the full band, da-na-na-na-na. Then he's like, running from the devil. And I'm like, it meant something to me that he went and relearned that song. And he has the musical prowess to do that too. If someone came to you and said a song you haven't heard on one of your first records in forever and said, man, I really want you to play this. And you're like, man, I barely remember that. How long until you could get that and play it full band on stage?
Oh, I would probably be able to do that, what Darius did.
Really?
Now, I can go back. If I get a couple listens, I've always, thank God, my level of being able to pull. I just need 1 or 2 listens and it'll all come back. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not assuring I wouldn't blank midway, but what's been fun through the years is every night before a show, it's not the thing to do, but I will do a little 2 or 3 song acoustic set for like VIPs that have bought the tickets for this little VIP experience. And I know better than to do it, but every now and then I'll ask the crowd for any request. Well, they always request some random damn song from, one of my first albums. And then we'll go down the wormhole, which is fun because it's not me just doing my standard little couple songs, get it. And so once I see the lyric and remember the melody, then it'll start popping back. But like for instance, if I know that I'll go 2 months without doing like a full band concert. Like the Houston Rodeo's coming up, and I'll go down there and I will go listen to the songs. And because I've had some moments where I didn't prepare, and I would blank on a few words here or there, but I'm pretty good about retaining, chords and lyrics and stuff like that. But I would say, you still need to be a little more prepared as I get. But back when I was 35, I was doing 200-something shows a year. I mean, there was never a break to get rusty.
Do you use a click?
There is a click in my ears.
You sing to click?
I can sing to click.
Do you need to sing to click?
No. But what I can, I'll tell you what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. What I'm really good at is pocket on the acoustic guitar. Like when we start drink a beer, I'm not on the click. But when my drummer fires the click with me playing, my tempo is on the click naturally.
You will just stay on it.
And the band comes in.
Yeah.
Now, we, year after year, I prefer the click. Now it's gotten to be I prefer it.
If you don't have it, is it weird?
No, I'm like I said, my ability, like this foot, if you see that foot doing that, if I'm on piano or guitar, I'm locked in. And I learned that I didn't have that when my first record deal. I didn't have that. I learned that by going on radio tours and playing 200 people college bars with just me and my guitar. And if you don't have that pocket dialed in, then you need a band.
Do you need microphones on stage to hear the crowd? Do you need crowd mics?
I have crowd mics, but I do that I more or less do that to pick up the ambient room noise to make the mix in my ears feel not isolated. Like right now, you and I are isolated. I want to feel all of the sounds, and I want it to feel vibrant and all that. So.
What about, because there's a bit of delay on those, right? When the crowd cheering into the mic, into the board, into your ears, even if it's split. Like when we would play click stuff briefly, when we did full band stuff at festivals, I would be like, God dang, this delay. They hate. Oh, there they are. There they are. But you're probably so used to that, right?
Yes. So all my stadiums, you could never sound check a stadium properly.
Because it's different with people in it?
It doesn't work. And, you could go set your levels, but the levels, throw them out the window. Well, so we sound check for stadiums. I never really geeked out on it because I knew everything would change. Well, then I would come up in the middle of the football field. Well, the only way I could get on time was to watch my drummers. I mean, I would watch
it's like a visual click.
That's the only way.
Wow.
And we would start with down, like I got that real good. And I'd have to watch. I'm 50 yards from him watching this.
Is he being over?
He's being overly
so you can see his hands?
Dramatic. And once we got through most of like, that's my kind of night, then my ear mix guy, he had the clicks and all the snare hitting hard enough to override everything.
I have like two other things I want to talk about. And we talked about, before you came in, we talked about Idol. And Idol starts
Isn't it funny how
March
quick
9th.
these go? How long have I been here? Yeah.
About an hour.
Yeah, I'm good on time now. We don't. Yeah.
I
mean, we're snowed in, you know, it's like.
I never want to like keep running you, but I do want to talk Idol for a second. Are you 7? Is this your 7th? 8th?
We're in the 8th year. Yeah.
God dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, I want this story about the first time it was even an option or a conversation that you might be on American Idol. Like the first call you get, who is it? Like, wait, what? Like, I want to know about that.
So I'm at my beach house, and my manager Carrie, she calls me and says, we've been contacted about the reboot of American Idol.
So they called you guys. Nice.
Well, and we had already seen some headlines at Katy Perry. You know, they signed Katy, and then they launched a big, you knew the show was coming back. And so they reached out to my manager, and I must say I was 70% against it to start. Because at that moment, I was at the height of stadiums and didn't want to get what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't want to get my mental focus going down. Like, life was so good just being.
So you don't want to lose your focus on what you were killing right then. Yeah.
And, but I was at the beach house, and this is the truth. And I was like, man, I cannot go to like, LA or New York, and I'm not going to go up there and do this meeting that I don't want to do. Carrie calls me and she goes, hey, they want to come to 30A, and they'll fly to us.
So they were going to come pitch you, basically.
Right.
Down in Florida.
So I said, all right, well, and back then, anyway, Carrie goes, all right, they'll be here on Wednesday night. Just ride over to Alice Beach. And I drove over, and Carrie rode a bicycle there, and we sat down and we meet with two of the people, an ABC person and a Fremantle person. I'll leave their names out, but they know I love them. And they started pitching it, and I told them I'm really probably not interested. I'm really and what's funny about the people that, like, they have no idea Luke Bryan. They don't know that I'm like doing sold out stadiums and double amphitheaters, and that I'm making enough money touring that I don't need, like, at the time, like, if Idol, I didn't need to give up money here to go spend more time doing this. I just needed to go throw shows up and go rock it. And maybe this is too much information, but either way, I went back and I started calling Blake and Keith Urban. And I called Blake, and we had a great talk. And Blake went through, he was like, Luke, he was like, the TV opens up another domain and dynamic. And I called Keith Urban, and Keith Urban said, man, he had loved it. And after I got
Idol, when he did Idol.
Yeah. And so once I got, those are two guys that I love and trust, and then I said, we kind of threw them out a crazy number, and damn it, they paid it.
Is it weird that people knew how much money you made? for a contract? Because athletes, they have that, but in our world,
I think
nobody
it's
really
a little
knows.
weird that info gets leaked out. I don't understand why. I don't understand how that info leaks.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you don't know why people are interested. I'm interested, but yeah, I
No,
agree.
I get it.
Like somebody knows somebody.
Somebody is leaking that info because I know it ain't anybody on our side, but somebody leaks it. And I don't know. I mean, I think here's the deal. I think the generation that we grew up in, our parents, like nobody talked about their finances. And I think this day and age, everybody's, especially in the public eye, from athletes to entertainers. And I mean, when you Google net worth and Forbes and what, I think, and now it's almost like a little bit of a braggadocious. I think you kind of people need to know they need to know a little bit of how successful you are as a little bit of a this is how good his, there's a little healthy dose of that, but I've never been a fan of it.
I feel the need a bit, and I was with having the conversation yesterday that I was talking about with Tracy Lawrence. I feel the need now, because he was just asking me my story, and we eventually took it on a microphone. I feel the need now to talk about my success, so it doesn't feel like I'm pandering with all of my upbringing. Because I grew up very poor, food stamp kid, trailer park.
Right.
Mom died, dad left, all of that. And by the end of it, I was like, I don't want to come off as disingenuous. I'm rich now.
Right.
And I used to feel like that would set people in a wrong, not feel good. But I feel now it's the most honest thing I can do, because I don't want people to think I'm being dishonest by not saying that, or that I'm feeding them a lie. That I'm just like, oh, it's tough. I have the understanding of my whole life not being. I'm as new money as it can possibly be.
Me too.
Yeah.
And
but I think you're right. I think for me to be totally honest, I have to somewhat share that's my story. But if I'm being totally honest, now I've had success and it's not like that anymore.
And I think what's interesting, I don't think you want to get around a group of people that are not successful. Like if I'm talking about money, I want people to understand, if somebody's asking me money advice, I want them to be able to freely talk about money with me, because they know there's no, they know there's no weird psychological stuff going on. It's like if I know there's some people in my world that I can tell they're about to get successful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, just so you know, don't do this until you run a few things by me. And I love the ability to do that. And I think, and then I love to get around people that are in the same income bracket, and we can talk the income bracket freely, and we can laugh about the old days and how we didn't have these problems, and we can laugh about, this and that. So I think there's a healthy dose of people. I never will forget, I was doing some land clearing, and this old guy was on a big old excavator on my property, and I pulled up just to see what they were doing, and I get out, and he shuts the machine off, and he just runs down, and he shakes my hand. He goes, man, I've never shaken a millionaire's hand. And I was like, you don't have to think of me like that.
Right. Because you don't think of you like that.
No, I said, you just think of me of
Same.
Good old boy that I'm happy you're out here. And he goes, well, I just had never shaken a millionaire's hand, and I knew I was working for you, and I knew I wanted to shake. So stuff like that is really endearing and cool.
I also think it's important, though, with your story and mine, to go, it's not like either one of us had an uncle that got us in, or we don't come from money. And
man, I had no
right,
ends.
It's like if you or me can decide to do this, commit ourselves to it, take some risks, strategize, fail, get back up. If we can do it, the reason I like to share it, one, I think people just want authenticity more than they want to be 100% relatable. Because you're very relatable, but there's parts of you that aren't because of your success. But I think with me, it's important to go, if I can do it, really anybody can do it, that it's not unattainable.
Right. And I think us talking about it props up the American dream
Fully agree.
even more.
Fully agree.
I think that, and I think the American dream is on 100 different levels, but even the hope of it is really, really special. I mean,
Leesburg, Georgia, Mountain Pine, Arkansas. If you can come from there, you can come from literally anywhere.
I think you can come from anywhere. And I think that, I tell you, I mean, I went to school with kids, listen, that even were 100% worse than me. And knowing that some of those boys that I grew up with went to become, 2 of them are doctors. And that's just one girl, she was our valedictorian, and her mother drove a tractor for the dairy, and she became valedictorian, and it was so, and so those were the success stories far beyond me out of my little group of Leesburg, Georgia. But
I also think the American dream you brought up, I think it's not even about money, it's about fulfillment.
right.
I think if you can do something and be fulfilled by it.
Yeah, if you grow up in a trailer park and you become a pharmacist,
Yes.
that's the American dream.
And you're fulfilled by it. Like if like
And,
that's what
or if you go,
yes.
you get out and you go play college football, you blow your knee out, but then you go coach 3 state championships just because you got a D1 scholarship.
Because you love doing it and you're able to pay the bills. That's why we wanted to do that. We just wanted to pay the bills doing something we loved.
Well, and listen, I had this conversation with a very famous athlete 2 days ago. There's only so much I can do as a country music singer. I did not go to Stanford and write an app that will ever make me worth $10 billion. Like, that wasn't my path. My job is to be as happy as I can be, having done as well as I can do as a country music singer. Now, the guy that wrote the app that sold it to Microsoft and got $10 billion, I hope his job is to have as much fun, and I hope the football coach is having the same amount of fun. So it's just funny how it's just about where you're at mentally through the whole process. And, man, I
Agree.
it's just been a damn blast for me.
Well, then I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to ask you this last thing. Do you ever drive by big houses and go, how'd they make their money? I do that crap all the time. Where I'm like,
what's funny is like I said, when you're scrolling through TikTok, there's this country girl. She's like on a lake in Alabama. And she's like, what do these people do?
I feel the same way. I'm like, how do people make money? Because I feel like I caught lightning in a bottle. I think I did a lot of things right, a lot of things wrong. I've learned from it, have tenacity. That's my superpower. But I know how, so I don't think I was lucky. I think I had some tough decisions, made them, bounce back. But again, I caught lightning in a bottle still. Because you can do everything right, and this isn't going to happen 9 times out of 10.
Right.
And I am like, how do people make money?
Well, I think, in my opinion, and I've seen it, I think there's a tremendous amount of money out there. And I tell you what, there's a tremendous amount of money out there by people that have went and busted their ass. Now, there's a tremendous amount of money that needs to be out there to help a lot of people too, in my opinion.
I agree.
I mean, when I go to LA and when I go to these big cities and so I think that and I will always now whether one administration did this and one administration, who's running the country and whatever, I will always believe that there's enough money in this country to where no one should be hungry, and no teacher, a teacher that's underpaid, or a firefighter or a veteran or anybody like that wanting for anything in this country. A child hungry.
Yeah, food insecurity is my biggest thing.
I mean, a child.
It's what I probably put the most money into. It's what I will end up, if I run for politics, that'll be the thing. Like, because I had that. And so that to me is, I'm in shock that there's so much and some people still have so little.
Listen, Bobby, I mean, when you think about, I mean, we could spend 2 days talking about stuff. But when you think about a plate of food that gets served to us at a restaurant and us eating half of it,
Yeah.
and every restaurant in this country throwing away a half of a plate of food.
Idle back March 9th. We talked about that. All right, buddy. I love you. Thanks.
I love you. Thank you.
thanks
This
for the
was
talk.
fun.
And then, yeah, we'll see you soon. Dude, you're killing it. It's super cool. You're killing it. And we're
You
gonna
are too,
and for
baby.
those that missed it, we edited out a lot of stuff. He got very controversial and naked. We edited it all out. And he fell. It was a whole thing.
Oh God, I would let you run all that just so.
I don't want you to run it. No, we don't want to because I don't want my friend canceled because he said a lot. Oh, it got real bad. All right, at Luke Bryan. All right, Luke, see you, buddy.